Everybody, it's Johnny Bronto with HauntScene, and right now we are outside of the shallow grave. Say hello, Kira.
Hi.
So we are excited about this. We still got about half an hour before it opens. Just kind of came early to get a good spot. So hopefully, if you're watching this, you get a chance to check out the shallow grave this year. So I'm just going to kind of pan around. It's in like a warehouse, so we're going to take a little look. Very nondescript in the mornings during the day, except that big skeleton right there. The walking head walking around. He's not great. Porta potties, a couple food cups and everything. Just remember, if you are coming out to the shallow grave, that the tickets are $25 for both haunts. There's two haunts. There's Vengeance Blood Moon, and there's Pepper Nocturnus there. Those are in Latin. I'll have to look them up. I know one's something night. So what do you think so far?
Oh, so far it's actually really nice. I love the fact that they have the walking Ted walking out and about, and parking. It was really cheap as well, only $2 to park.
Yeah, so bring cash, $2. Parking attendant, very nice to interact with. It's pretty funny. So I don't know if anyone's watching this live, but if you want, come on out. It's starting to get dark outside, so bring the family. This is a good old family-friendly haunt. Not really. If you want to lose your children permanently or have them scarred for life, definitely bring them.
Or if they're 12 and up, that works as well.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right, cool. All right, well, we're going to wait around a little bit and then do this thing, and then we'll let you know how it goes, and then we'll talk about this on the show on Tuesday, 8 o'clock.
Have fun.
All right. Bye, guys. All right, guys, it's 8 o'clock. Got a slightly late start tonight. Had to make one last little minute adjustment that I realized I didn't have the episode titled correctly. So, welcome to HauntScene. Joining me as normal is the lovely and talented Kira. So, how you doing?
I'm doing quite well this evening.
Excellent. And she's actually in the next room over. So, she's in like the green room. Also joining us this week is a very special guest, one of my favorite gingers, Mr. Tom Bly.
Hello, Internet.
So, I didn't really intend to do this, but you got gingers on both sides of you, Kira, so you're making like a gingerbread sandwich. So, hey, I'll be here all weekend. All right, so hello everybody who's watching at home right now. Thank you guys. I know a lot of people from the shallow grave are actually watching this episode, so I guess we better have nice things to say about it. I don't think that's going to be too hard. So I got my Booyah shirt on, and this episode we're going to dedicate entirely to the shallow grave, which is, I'm going to go ahead and say it, the best haunt in Central Florida. Just going to say it. What do you guys think? Now, you guys both did this for the first time this year, right?
That's correct. And this was actually my first non-theme park central haunt ever in the Florida area.
So just stepping out of the theme parks, because there are a lot of really good haunts beyond your big boys, and this is definitely one of the must-do experiences here in Central Florida. Tom, did you get a chance to do Shallow Grave? I don't know if we talked about that before.
No, I've not done it before. I actually lived less than a mile away for 3 years. The first 3 years that it was open, but I didn't get a chance to make it in.
Okay.
So I was happy to do it this time.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So the theme this year, it's got two haunts. We've got Vengeance Blood Moon, and we also have the Pavor Nocturnus. I'm trying to pronounce that correctly. I'm hoping I am. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about this. So just kind of initial impressions. What'd you guys think? Kira, go ahead and go first.
I have to say I was very impressed with both houses at the Shallow Grave. And to me, it's not only is it on par with what you would see in a theme park, but there were some aspects that were a lot better.
Yeah, I did notice when we were not even like 1 minute into the first house, we did Vengeance Blood Moon first. I noticed that you were making some, making some comments about it was just amazing, and I actually saw you because, we were walking through together in the group that we had, and you actually like, you had this like, thing where you just slowed down a moment like you were taking it all in. And we have a lot of exposure obviously to the theme parks, Horror Nights, Howl-O-Scream, those kinds of things, and I think I kind of opened up like a little light bulb in your brain.
Well, yeah, because I'm so used to, especially how Universal does the Horror Nights, where it's pretty much a Congo line, that I do not often get a chance to really take my time in the house. And I do love the fact that they were pulsing the queue, so to speak, just because it gave you that time to really go through. You can look at everything. It's not like keep it moving. We didn't have stormtroopers going, move along, move along.
Right. Yeah, very small groups of 6. They pulse it. It's like every minute, every 2 minutes. They give you a good space. We did end up one time catching up to a group, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Tom, initial impressions. What did you think of the Shallow Grave this year?
I think it's amazing. Really good show. The set design was incredible. There's a lot of good stuff to look at. It's almost like you have to go through a couple of times just to take it all in.
Yes.
And they definitely have some surprises. And the best part, I think, is that they time it to where not only the first person in your group is going to get scared, but they also make it to where the last person is going to get hit as well. So I think it was really good and really good, especially with a smaller group going through it.
Yeah, there is no safe. There is no, like, sometimes you designate, like, the haunt virgin. Like, we tried to position somebody at the front of the group. The 3 of us went, but we also had 3 other folks go. And, there is no safe. I believe we were talking to Joe afterwards. Joe, if you're watching, hello. He was talking to us afterwards where they designed the haunt and the scares for the entire Shallow Grave to, it doesn't really matter whether you're in the front or the back or the middle, they're going to get you. So, now... that's initial impressions. From a scary point of view, like actually being scared or being uneasy, compared to, because I know that I believe, Tom, you've been to like Halloween Horror Nights before, right?
Yeah, I've done Halloween Horror Nights, Howl-O-Scream. I've been in a couple of haunted houses myself. So I have a good experience there.
Okay, so from a scare factor, comparing the Shallow Grave to all of, like, let's say, the theme park haunts, how scary was it in relation to those?
It's definitely up there. I think that it's a lot of it's not necessarily a scare factor, but just kind of a weird you out factor. There are definitely a couple of parts, especially in Paddle, that just kind of got you thinking, and there were some psychological things that were fun. But I just really enjoyed it overall. Comparing to different haunted houses, I definitely think it had more of that startle value because you're not just in a Congo line that you're being funneled another person after another person after another person. Right. So you have a little more of an intimate feeling, and so you I think because you're on your guard a little more, it gets you more because you're sometimes not expecting it to come from where you're expecting it, or where it actually comes from.
Yeah, they definitely take some odd angles when they get you. They're along like the floor, and they're over you and under you and at your side. So it was pretty neat. Now the tickets, I have to admit, I'm going to bring this back up here. The info for the event here. Now here's the schedule. Couple things to notice here is the tickets for both haunts, really cheap, $25 plus tax. And if you look here at the end of November, the Shallow Grave is actually open a week, the weekend after Halloween. So those of you guys that are, you're obsessed with Horror Nights or Howl-O-Scream and you guys want to do a real haunt, it will be open the weekend after all that theme park stuff closes. So I want you guys to get out there, and they're actually doing a couple special events and give you guys some discounts afterwards. So really, really neat. So I want to bring up back the main screen here. But from a dollar perspective, from a value perspective, how do you guys feel about the Shallow Grave with $25 for both tickets?
Oh, I love the fact that the price is very affordable. Same with parking, because when you go to the theme parks, it's about $20 to park regularly, I know, right? And after a certain time, it's cheaper, but I mean, $2 to park, you can't beat that. And then the fact that it's only 25 plus tax for both houses, that's a really good deal considering what you get.
Okay. Now, before, go ahead. I'm sorry, Tom.
In addition to the $2 for parking, you're walking across the street rather than through a tunnel, down City Walk, around the bend just to get to the park. So that's really nice as well.
Going through airport security. All right. So, what about the length of the haunts? Like, I've been through many haunts. I've been to almost every event here in Central Florida. The ones that I haven't done yet, Chamber of Terror, I'm doing that pretty soon. From a length perspective, did it feel a little bit longer than like things that you're used to? Because it kind of feels like it goes on for a long time for me, anyways. Maybe it's just I'm just scared out of my gourd, but it really feels long. So if I had to make you guys guess how long the haunts are together in at the Shallow Grave, what would you guys think? Just like an estimate. And Kira, if you looked on the website, don't answer. She's the one that studies up on everything.
I do study up on things. However, if I want to do a guesstimate, and I don't remember this information exactly how long it is off the top of my head, but I would have to say I felt like we spent at least a good 5 to 7 minutes in each one.
I think it's a little bit longer than that. It felt like I didn't look at my watch or anything, but I actually looked on the website, and it's actually a quarter mile. When you go through both haunts, you walk a quarter mile. That's crazy. That's cray-cray.
Yeah, it is a big warehouse. They have it nice and split, and I think they did a really good job of weaving you in and out of the warehouse. Some areas are a little narrow. Some scenes are really large. But they really wind you through that, and they make a really good use of their space.
It's funny you say that, because I've gone for the last few years, and I've done the Shallow Grave several times through a couple of changes. And I will admit, this year, with the way they space out the people in the small groups and they take you through the haunt, and just the design of the house, like especially Vengeance Blood Moon, one thing I noticed was it is much more intimate and claustrophobic this year. Like a lot of those set pieces that we were walking through in Vengeance Blood Moon last year, they were more open spaces. So it kind of boxes you in more with the way that it was designed this year. So definitely genius designing on that. It makes it a little scarier with the event. So it's something I noticed. I know you guys haven't had a chance to go, but I really liked it this year. I thought it was really neat.
I like the fact that since everything was so closed in, that gave the actors a chance to really interact with you. I know when we were going through Vengeance Blood Moon, one of the werewolves got super close to my back, and I see his hand go over my shoulder, and he ends up just kind of parting the way of the hanging divider for me. And it was one of those I want to be like, thanks, werewolf, you're awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, they do get, they do get in your personal space a little bit, make you a little uncomfortable. Yep. If you go to the Shallow Grave, you can be touched. So just keep that in mind. It's a little different from, some of the things that you might be used to. It's a little more intense. They're not going to hurt you or anything. It's just kind of, they might, hip check you or grab your ankle or something like that. It's just kind of like a catch and release kind of thing. It's not really to hold you or make you uncomfortable. It's just kind of keep you off balance a little bit. So that's pretty neat. What else? What else do you guys think? Because we got a couple pictures of the outside and a couple things we experienced before we actually go through the individual haunts. Anything else before we really get into it?
Well,
sorry. I just really love the fact that they had some of the characters out walking around before interacting, while you were waiting in the queue line, while you're waiting to pay for your ticket. That was just amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. Now, I do have a slideshow images. Funny you say that. Good segue, Kira. It's not like you're my co-host or anything. But we're going to go over to our slideshow here. Now, I had to kind of adjust this here. This right here is what the Shallow Grave looks like if you just happen to drive by it during the day. Very nondescript warehouse here. I actually took this picture not on Saturday. We went last Saturday, had a really, really good time. I was kind of stalking the Shallow Grave a couple days before. I was actually teaching in Lakeland, and I took the long way home. And I drove by a street, and I was like, is this Shallow Grave on this street? And I actually drove by it here, and and then stared at it wantingly for a little while before the light gave out or the train gave out or something like that. So it doesn't really look like much. Now you will notice, even if you look at it from the outside, there's a huge 20-foot this huge skeleton thing that apparently has an official animatronic name that I can't remember off the top of my head. But here's what it looks like on the outside. And let me move on to the next one here. Here's the sign on the outside. Very welcoming. Thaddeus, the main guy, he's there to help you out here. If you look at this person close enough, they're actually not, Thaddeus isn't attacking this person. He's actually chopping wood for a fire because they're so cold. Because that's the kind of person that Thaddeus is. I'm just kidding.
He's a very giving person.
He's going to completely kill this person with an axe. They did some really good commercials last year. If you go to theshallowgrave.com, they have little videos that you can see on YouTube. Very neat. I put our crappy Facebook Live video up there, but I wanted to do something a little different here. So that was neat. I gotta stop saying neat. Everything's neat. Stop. It's not neat. It's cool. This year they do have Scott Fenster. Scott Fenster, some people have heard of him. I will admit I don't watch Sci-Fi Face Off, but a lot of people are very large fans of that.
Like me.
He is the... Okay, so you actually got to see him on a show in season 9?
I did. I watch Face Off every single season, and I have some of them actually DVR'd to where I can watch them over and over again.
Okay. So Scott Fenster, he is the makeup lead for the 2016. So the Shallow Grave actually brought him in to do the lead makeup there. I loved the makeup. I thought it was really, really amazing. So Scott, if you're there, he actually commented on one of the things that we did, I believe, on Instagram. So he's at Scotty's Toy Box or something like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. So Scott, thank you for that. I apologize. Your work is great, but I don't watch Face Off. So if you are a Face Off man, come and see Scott or come and see his work at the Shallow Grave because he's awesome.
No joke, if I was to ever actually meet him, I might just be I have to come because I just enjoyed his work on the show as well. I mean,
awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to stop fangirling now.
Yeah.
It's always good to have somebody that you can get a little starstruck over. That's not this big, huge name, but kind of somebody that you just admire. That's kind of a smaller, more niche person.
Yeah, and I was looking at his information. He's actually located in Orlando, so that's pretty neat. So he's a local. He's a local boy. He's a yokel. So that's pretty neat. Now, moving on here, didn't get a great picture here, but they do have a projection with this. So if you miss the actual sign that's on the street, they have a projection showing the Shallow Grave. Obviously, this shows up a little bit better when it's dark outside, but it's really, really cool. And then we have The Walking Ted.
I love this photo.
This is the best photo. As I said previously, I have about one good photo in me a year because I just don't have a photographic eye. But The Walking Ted, what's neat about this, and this was early. I mean, this was a half an hour before the event even opened. We go in and Walking Ted's walking around, and I happened to see that it was a cloudy day, and I took a picture at a lower angle looking up at him with his hand there. And if you look up The Walking Ted on Instagram, he's got really cool zombie pictures here. And I took the picture. I was like, wow, this is a really good picture. And I showed it to him. And he in his zombie growling face, apparently zombies know how to use social media, because he actually requested that we put the photo up with the caption, The Walking Ted. So if you go to the HauntScene Instagram, you'll be able to see this photo here. Put a little filter on it. But it's a really cool picture. So, yeah.
Well, remember, walkers were people too at once.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's just some residual memories. Ted was actually his day job was marketing for a major, I don't know, I'm just kidding. All right, so yeah, Ted has a backstory apparently. So yeah, Ted, if you're watching, make sure you pass along your zombie bio. All right, so we saw The Walking Ted. He's walking around. Now there are many characters that walk around and interact with you as you're in line, just kind of wandering around. You're in line packed, not too tight, but they can definitely get in your space a little bit. Some really cool characters walking around. Let's see what else we got. Here's the group photo of all of us. So we got Ash in the background, me in the background. We got The Walking Ted here. We got Captain Gingerface, Tom Bly here on the right. And then we have three other people, our friends Anna, Ash, and Picasso. and they were like haunt virgins. Like, these guys had never done the Shallow Grave before, so I made sure we brought a couple people to experience the event. Everybody had a really, really good time. Bring a group. Normally when I'm talking about like doing theme park stuff, I say don't bring a big group, but if you do the Shallow Grave, the more people the better, because you can go through in about groups of 6, so kind of bring something like that, 6, 12 or whatever, but it's a fun experience to go through together. Yeah.
And it was also Picasso's first time ever doing a haunt, correct?
Yes, and I thought he was going to die. Not like die in the house, but I didn't know how he would react to this, because some people just aren't haunt people. You bring them here and like, is this haunt gonna kill this person? But he made it, and actually it was really encouraging, because when we were talking to him afterwards, he was actually saying, I really like that, I want to do more stuff, so he might actually go out and check out a couple other things. We have a couple things on our docket that we're going to do for the show, but yeah, everybody had a really, really good time. And I was surprised, too, because this is one of the more intense haunts, I believe, that are in Central Florida. So everybody had a really good time. Nothing?
Well, speaking of, don't die, don't worry. There's always a disclaimer for that you can't hold anyone for it.
Yeah, the tickets
we had amazing. We joked beforehand that if it was too intense and one of us actually died, that we wanted to sign waivers to become part of the set and just leave our corpses there.
Joe might actually use that. Don't give him any ideas. If you die in this haunt, your body will forever live here.
Man, now I have to really think about what I wear to these haunts just in case.
Yeah. That's funny. It's a funny way to look at it. Okay, so here's this, and I will come back to this. Let me just get one little adjustment here.
Well, while you do that, it's kind of like with Being Human, when Sally, whenever she passed on or was murdered, whatever she was wearing at that time was what she wore for the rest of her ghost life.
Oh, that's no fun.
Sticks together piece.
Yeah, make sure I don't die in a Speedo or something like that.
Speaking about what you're wearing, I wore jeans and a polo, and if you do go, I definitely suggest wearing shorts if you can. It does get a little warm in there just because some of the areas are a little more compacted, but that's just kind of a side note.
Yeah,
and well, since it is inside too, it's more comfortable wearing shorts. Now, if it was completely outside, I would have definitely worn jeans instead of shorts.
Right, bugs and everything else.
And closed-toe shoes.
Yeah, and closed-toe shoes. A couple of ladies here, Anna and Ash, wore like sandals and flip-flops. I don't really recommend that for any haunt, because you might stub your toe or trip on something or twist an ankle or something like that. So closed-toed shoes for all haunts. It's just like a universal rule, but now we know. Okay.
Yeah, there was definitely a time or two where a couple of people took off running a little bit, and closed-toe shoes, I'm sure, would have definitely helped.
Yes, traction. So I'm going to turn this one off for a moment. I have another slideshow that I had kind of on the other side. This is what greets you when you walk into the Shallow Grave. So here's the big hulking skeleton. It has an official name. Joe was telling it to me, because I was mentioning that if you do go to Howl-O-Scream this year, in front of their unearthed house, they have like the same skeleton. Shallow Grave had it first. And it's huge, and it's programmed to talk to you and stuff, and it says something. I unfortunately did not stand outside to understand what it said, but I will eventually find out what the animatronics are saying. So it's cool, and when it stands up, it's huge. I mean, it goes all the way up to the rafters here, and it's got these skeletons are like normal sized things. So it's a cool sight to behold when you first come up to the Shallow Grave.
Yeah, it's definitely every bit of 25 feet whenever it's at full extension.
Pretty neat. Very cool effect. I want one for my house. I don't know if it would fit in my house. Okay, so moving on to one of my favorite parts, which is the tickets. Oh my god, I love the tickets. I absolutely, they're my favorite tickets ever. Normally you get you buy something online, you print it out, you get a barcode or whatever, but here if you go and you buy your tickets, they give you physical tickets. And this year's theme is Fight or Flight for the two different haunts. And when you buy the ticket, they pull punch one side, you can go through and do the other side. So, always featuring Thaddeus here. Love the tickets. I was hoping they weren't going to take the ticket, because it's like my favorite souvenir from the Shallow Grave. So here's what the front looks like, but the best part is going to be the back. And it's the same disclaimer as last year, but it's always fun to revisit. So why don't you do this, Kira? Because you can actually, I have my ticket on that table right there. Can you read it? Read the back of that ticket. I forgot to actually put it in.
Give me 1 moment to
I
find
could, like,
it.
squint and do that, but the text is a little bit small, so maybe I can make it a little...
Ha! There it is.
There we go.
All right.
So
I
read the
found
back.
it. Okay. Beware entering the Shallow Grave haunted attraction. Entails known and anticipated risks that could result in physical or emotional injury. Risks may include, among other things, such as being touched, slips, falls, collisions with fixed objects or other participants, bruises, twists, sprains, breaks, seizures, and/or death. Fog and strobes may be in use. Understand that such risks simply cannot be eliminated without jeopardizing the essential qualities of this activity. Your participation is purely voluntary, and you participate in spite of the risks. By purchasing a ticket, you acknowledge that if anyone is hurt or property is damaged, you may be found by a court of law to have waived your right to maintain a lawsuit against the Shallow Grave, its sponsors, or its parent company.
I love that. That's so cool. It's like, you know, you buy a ticket and you're signing a waiver at the same time. So it's pretty neat. Not necessarily our group, but there were other groups that kind of went in before or after us. They were significantly startled by this. I'm gonna go ahead and just be
Yes.
yeah. They're not to really kind of talk too much about it, because I don't really want to be spoilerish with the Shallow Grave. But when we got to the end of the second house, there was this group in front of us, and they were going so slow because they were so scared. So we got like bonus time in the second house. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I thought that was kind of neat that you know, some people just can't handle this. This is not for everybody. But you should experience it because it's amazing. It's definitely going to test your limits here. So that's what you're going to look at with the ticket. I don't think I have any other photos in this one. Oh yeah, we got the little ghoul guy. They have some really cool like sculptures and animatronics and things on the outside and on the inside of the house. When it does start to get a little dark outside, they do have some blacklight effects, which are pretty neat, especially with the scaretors walking around in line, you know, and everything. It's really cool. So love the theming on the outside. It's pretty sweet. So that's pretty nice. I think we all took the same picture, because I asked everybody earlier. I was like, hey, you know, I need some pictures for the show tonight. Everybody send me your pictures, and everybody took the same picture of this thing. So that was good. It's definitely a good photo op.
It's really good, especially when you do not use flash to take the picture, and the colors pop underneath the black light, and just the way it moves and the atmosphere around it. I mean, who wouldn't want to take a picture of this?
And I think that's good, because like we're waiting in line, and I didn't realize it moved because they didn't start moving that until the show actually opened.
Right.
And so we were standing in line, and all of a sudden arms are reaching out, and they get pretty close to the line. So
yeah. So we got some chat in here. I think his name is the Necromancer, but a lot of us just call him George. No, that's the actual skeleton guy. So let me go back to that. This guy right here. This guy has a name, and his name is George.
Oh, George.
Oh, George. So that was neat. So let me turn that one off and go back to our other images here. There we go. So we're walking Ted, spent some time with him before we're starting to get dark outside. Everybody got their tickets. Here's Thaddeus. I didn't have time to, because I got home a little bit later than I thought I was. But I was gonna make like a Thaddeus poster, and make like the Shallow Grave, and make like an Oscar Awards poster with like the gold leaves and everything. But I just did not get a chance to use it. But I meant to do it, so if that counts for anything, it was pretty neat. But here's the guy. He's the main dude. He's on all the marketing and everything, all the billboards up and down I-4. You can see him if you're in the Polk County area. Very, very neat. In person, really scary. A couple years ago, I think I twisted, I pulled a muscle in my neck because he scared the crap out of me so bad. First year I did the Shallow Grave was kind of rough, man. I was not prepared for it was the first year, and I went alone. So yeah. All right. So let's talk about the first house. There are 2 houses here at the Shallow Grave, so 2 houses for $25. Do not fret if you do go to the Shallow Grave and you look and the line's out the door, which I imagine it's going to be from here on out. They do offer an upgraded Fast Pass. It's $40, and you can get front of the line access to both houses. Good deal, especially because the line, remember, they put you through in small groups, so the time might take a little bit longer. We were there at pretty much opening, so we got like right in. But I can imagine if it's like, the middle of the night, getting a little bit later when it's dark outside, especially getting closer to Halloween, I have a feeling this one's going to be really popular. So you may want to invest in the Fast Pass. Okay? Very neat. Stop saying neat, John. All right, so Vengeance Blood Moon. Now, I do not have the description in front of me, Kira. I was really hoping you had that available.
Well, if you give me a moment, I can get that for you.
Yeah,
so go ahead and start talking, and as soon as I pull it up, I'll let you know.
There you go. I'm going to need you to read these here, because I have all my notes for, so I don't get things wrong. But I once again, we were running just slightly late, and I didn't get a chance to get everything up in the...
you should have told me. I would have put all this information up a little bit sooner.
It's all your fault.
It's all my fault. I'm such a horrible host. But this is the house. If you go in, it's on the left. So you'll see it's got a big sign here letting you know that you're in the right place if you want to do this house. This one right here is very cool. It's Thaddeus tangling with some, it seems like, well, they're not necessarily tangling with, but they do have werewolves involved this year. Mm-hmm. So lycanthropy is always, I'm a big fan of lycanthropy. So you guys can... it's up to you which one you want to do first. I happen to like doing this one first, but I think I'm just in the habit of this. So this would be on the left when you walk up, and if you just ask one of the nice staff at the Shallow Grave, they will make sure that you're in the right place.
All right.
Here we go.
Okay. Now, for Vengeance Blood Moon. Hell hath no fury. Sound familiar? Somewhere in a deep, dark, murky swamp there is a coven of gypsy-like witches, or so they say. No one dares to get close to that old shack. The smells and the sounds from that part of the woods keep most normal people at bay, but Thaddeus is as far from normal as one might expect. When Thaddeus hunts, Thaddeus eats, and therein lies the problem. Thaddeus never concerned himself with biting the hand that feeds him. Well, because it was the hand that was feeding him, but this time the hand was biting back. Ooh. Always too busy to even think twice why the hordes of the undead stalk him, even hunted him. The time has come that maybe he should. Crossing paths with these swamp gypsies had its consequences. Kill one of them. Now, there's a blood debt. These women plan to collect. Gnawing their bones, rattling incantations, all to raise the dead, only scratch the surface. Like a gnat on a dog, Thaddeus disregards them, almost mocks them, but now a new evil walks his property. Old man Thaddeus doesn't like things on his property, but this thing smells different, leaves a different footprint. The sounds are indescribable. The shadows move now. A new hunter stalks this land. It has Thaddeus a little concerned. There is a stench in the air, a darkness settling over him. He fears there may be vengeance on its way, and he knows he has to prepare for a blood moon.
That's a really good voiceover there. I was like on the edge of my seat. I was like,
tell me nice.
More. It was really, really, really good. So that's the backstory for Vengeance Blood Moon. I do recommend to do your homework if you're going to the Shallow Grave. Go to theshallowgrave.com. They have the backstories of the houses. Both of them are available there. So they threw some werewolves in the mix, and
I'm telling you, those werewolves. I don't know. I really like that. To me, that's the one part that stands out is the werewolves.
Yeah.
Well, they did really good with their makeup, and I know he said it takes him the longest to get them all dressed up in makeup and everything. But the makeup that they have on these scares are just amazing.
Yeah, it was really really solid, like really terrifying. I did turn a corner where I saw like the first werewolf, and it was like, oh crap. So yeah, I kind of got a little floored. You know, something kind of catches you in your peripheral vision. You're like, oh my god, that's a werewolf. So yeah.
Yo, for me though, I'm always gonna remember the werewolf who kind of parted the pathway for me. Like
nice
if he is watching this, kudos to you because that's the one thing that really sticks out.
The American Werewolf in Winter Haven. It's really bad. It's a really bad joke. and coincidentally, Tom has dogs barking in the background.
I do. My wife came home and they went wild. So.
Gotcha. Okay, so Vengeance Blood Moon. Now, what else do I have in my slideshow here? Here's the front of the house that you walk into. I always found that this was a really neat effect. One thing that's a little different this year is once you go into the haunt, you have like characters coming at you like right away. I don't want to get like super spoilerish or with everything, but they were like right on you like right from the get-go. So that was a little different. Last year I remember, maybe I just went on an off night, but when I went through the front door, that's when everything started. And you can't really see it here too well in the picture. But if you look at the actual windows of this, they have like this really cool, and I've always been in love with this. They have like these TV screens in the windows, and it's like this effect of like zombies walking by and clawing it, whatever. I really want that for like my windows outside, so I'm gonna have to look into that. So we got Ethan Dark here in the chat. Pretty sure that was me. So yeah. So if you're watching, thank you guys for scaring the crap out of us. It was a good time. So here's the front of the house. Or
making it to where I have a memory that I'm just like, yes, I have to tell others. It was that awesome.
Yeah. Move that a little bit. Okay, so here's the front of the house. Everything, the color scheme of the Shallow Grave, like the really like dark olive greens and the grays and the browns, everything kind of has a very dark, kind of ominous, like sinister color scheme to it, which I really like. It works for me. So whenever you go to the website, look at all the marketing and everything, that does tend to work for me.
Yeah, I definitely like the earth tones. It definitely made you feel like you were in the middle of the woods and areas that reflected the scenes that they were trying to purvey.
Yeah, and I've got a couple images we're going to look at of some of their marketing images that I pulled from their website a little bit later, so you guys can kind of see the theme a little bit. I don't want to give away too much. I feel like I kind of gave away a little bit too much last year, sorry. But when you go into the house here, you're going to notice it does attack your like sense of smell a lot, which is something that not a lot of haunts do, and if they do it badly. I'm not going to comment on something this year, but when you go in here, it's like you're using another one of your senses to be scared. Like I feel like my nose is scared or something like that, and it stays with you, and it stays with you for a long time. I don't know about you guys, but we all got together and went to dinner after this at the Slice Kitchen in Winter Haven. Plug. We go and like I could still smell this in like my nose. I could like taste it in my mouth. Like it's not like it's like gonna make you sick or anything like that, but it's just kind of you take a little bit home with you. So and I noticed that last year as well, which is pretty cool.
Well, even then they're able to centralize the smells because they have a couple of different smells throughout the haunt. Mm-hmm. So they were able to keep the smells in the areas that they were intended to be in.
Yeah. So what's funny is if I'm sure like the smells like have a name. So I would love to hear like the names of what their actual smells are, because usually they're pretty hilarious. So if somebody has the list, let me know. So what else? Now this one is pretty long. You go through like a house. You go through like a I don't even know how to describe it, man. It's like an evil basement mortuary of like hell. It's just things are going wrong in this house, and you're in the middle of it. It's really neat. It's really cool. Thaddeus scares the crap out of me. So thank you, whoever Thaddeus is, if you're watching right now. That's just like gets me. I had my own favorite moment of both houses, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But what did you guys think of the first house that we went through?
I thought that it was like the sets were really well. The actors were doing a fantastic job. I mean, for me, it was just taking in all those little details and how it flowed as a story.
Yeah, I definitely saw that that the house really meshed well. What you start off with is completely different, kind of from what you're ending up with, but it flowed really well. Like you said, it was like a story being told.
Yeah, it was really, really neat. Dark, not so dark like you can't see, but dark enough to be like a little uncomfortable. So I really like the way the lighting is used in the house. Very, very neat. Very cool. I love this house. You end up in like a graveyard. There's like werewolves. I made a comment last year. There's this one part when you're in like a shed, and there's this girl who like flips off the top and does this like spider monkey thing. I actually commented on that when we went through the house, and I think that maybe she remembered that from last year. Maybe it's the same character in the same role, but she's athletic. So yeah, it was pretty. I like this. I like this house a lot. I will admit this was my favorite up until this year because I really like the second house. Like the second house just did it for me, and it's just I love the ending of the second house. It just blows my mind. So we'll kind of transition over to that. Now we got 18 minutes left. So any other thoughts on the first house?
I pretty much said everything that I want to on the house. I mean, it's something that you have to go see for yourself.
Yeah. You have to see it for yourself. It is freaking scary. It is scary, and you got to like push bodies out of the way, and there's things on chains, and they've got these huge animatronic things coming out at you, and it's cool because they move stuff around. Joe Phillips, he's a person that is never content with this haunt. He's gonna tweak this until the end of days. So I love the tweaks this year. I would just before we get into the second house, do you guys have like an order that you want to recommend to people? Like as far as which one you should do first and which one you should do second?
I think the houses were a little different, so it's hard to give an order. Like the first house that we did, Vengeance Blood Moon, was a little more in your face and kind of scaring you up front, whereas the second one was a little more psychological for me. So it's kind of two different houses, and it's kind of hard to say which one I would do first.
Okay, fair enough. Kira?
Yeah, no, I have to agree with that statement. It is very difficult because it's two different themes, and it's attacking two different types of fear. The psychological aspect and the more like mental and the more physical aspect. So it's really fair game at this point. Choose whichever one you want to do.
Yeah, you're going to end up freaking out either way, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
Or go around and be like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
A lot of the fun for me in the Blood Moon house was I was in the front of our group, and so one of the things that they said was they may touch you, but don't touch them, and don't touch the set, and things like that. And it was really hard for me a lot of the time to distinguish what was a person and what was set. And so that kind of added to it was like, what if I touch this, is it going to touch me back? So it was fun.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that about the houses and how they kind of work different levels of fear, because I really think the two houses really complement each other really well. Like they overlap like really well, for the overall like story arc of this year. So bravo on that. Let's move on to the second house, which is going to be the next one up. Let me center you. Slideshow wanted to go a little crazy there. There we go. Which is the Pavor Nocturnus house. And,
all right, you ready for me to read it?
I am. Or do you want me to read it? Because I actually have it up. You want me to read it?
Oh, I can read it.
Okay.
I like reading things like this.
And I like listening to you read.
Oh, that's a little creepy. You find yourself tossing, turning, throwing yourself about fighting these visions. Visions of the scared old man from that wretched, rickety house by the cemetery. You see him for the first time, scared to death that it's the last face you see. You turn to run, but your legs won't move. Your heart starts to pound as your chest aches. You cry out in torment, yet no sound. You turn back to see if Thaddeus is gaining on you, only to see the swing of his axe as you explode from your bed, drenched in fear, soaked in sweat. But for now, it is not your blood. Witness all new disturbing terrors that is Pavor Nocturnus, only at the shallow grave.
Ooh.
Yeah, and
that's freaking
did you know?
horrifying.
Well, Pavor Nocturnus actually means night terrors, which is a common thing that people do suffer.
I actually, when I was younger, I experienced those. I'm intimately familiar with. They're not fun. It is like you wake up and you are literally in a nightmare, and you know you're awake, but the nightmare doesn't stop, so it's not fun.
Yeah, I've had those in my adulthood where I wake up and I'm consciously like paralyzed and I can't wake myself from it. So they're definitely real.
Not a good time, man. That's a man. I love that description. That's great. Okay, so we're going on to the second house now. It is changing gears a little bit. When you go through, the first thing you're going to see is this big animatronic skeleton guy that talks to you. This house, just to kind of give you a little backstory, last year it had different kind of segments to it, and this year they kind of really kind of drove those together. Like last, there was like a creepy doll room. There was a crazy midway thing. There was all this like military stuff, and it was just kind of like different nightmares you were walking through. Which a couple of years ago, I kind of caught me a little bit off guard. My brain has to kind of jump logically from one section to the other. But last year they really kind of streamlined it a little bit more, and this year I think they really consolidated the theme where you are walking through nightmares. So first thing you're going to see when you walk into this, after you get through the animatronic guy in the beginning, is a very long cave filled with spiders. And I am personally arachnophobic for real spiders, but if you do not like spiders at all, you may have a nervous breakdown and die right in the haunt, and they'll just web you in, and then you'll just be part of the sets, as we said earlier. So it's pretty intense there. A little slow, kind of like building that tension, getting into the house, and then all hell breaks loose in this house. Like it just like bam out of a cannon, and you start going through. And I'll go ahead and let you guys describe it. What'd you think? Let's say Tom. Oh. You were gonna talk here. I cut you off.
So for the beginning, like you said, it's a lot of spiders and things like that. And for me, I'm not afraid of that. So for me, it was a little slow to start. I know anybody who has any type of fear of creepy crawly things is going to freak out a little bit during that opening scene. But then as you progress, it smacked me in the face about halfway through. And there's one part that really creeps up on you and you don't realize it's about to happen. And I think you got 2 or 3 of us all at the same time. And from there on, it was just in your face, and just started twisting your mind around.
Kira, what you think?
Well, for me, I don't really get scared of a lot of things, but the more I thought about it, because the first section is you are in a cave, and if you're afraid of spiders, yes, you're probably going to have a little bit of nervousness or even might cry a little. But when thinking about it, I started thinking of it as this cave is kind of like a symbol as you're going deeper and deeper into your mind and the fears that are inside your mind. And then it switches to different scenes. Like there was one scene where you had the hillbillies, and there was a bunch of things hanging out, like a bunch of pigs and stuff. And for a minute there, I almost felt like, wait, did I take a wrong turn and somehow end up in like Alabama?
Yeah, you definitely wind up in the swamp.
Yeah.
I'm really deep in Polk County. The places you don't go. I don't know. I just moved here, so I don't know.
And it's one of those too, as you're going along, like each section is themed, and it gets further themed. And of course, there are some interactions. I mean, there was one thing that I thought was a really cool effect, and then it turns out and it hits me, and I'm like, what on earth did I just get hit by? Sorry for the spoilers, but I'm like, I just got hit by an alligator. Maybe I should have worn my knee brace.
Yes, yeah. There is this one part where you just kind of walk. You're just walking along, and this gargantuan alligator head. And I'm not gonna spoil it like where it is in the house, but at some point it will split a group in two, and if that thing gets it in your jaws, it's gonna like pin you to the wall. It's really, really neat.
It's definitely a Lake Placid moment.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny. We were able to talk to Joe after we went through the house the first time, and they, Joe, they were really nice enough to let us go through a second time, which was really, really cool. And the second time, we got kind of backed up in the house. Like the group in
That
front of
we
us was
did.
so scared that we had to wait on them to move along, and they wouldn't quit. To their credit, they were just making the house last forever for us. And I don't know like what's watching me with this alligator head or whatever, but that's about where we first got backed up, which is weird because it's it's a certain distance into the house. And I realized, I was like, oh, this is a pretty neat moment. So I after we got past that, I stepped back in front of the alligator, and I kind of like shuffled a little bit to the left and right, and who was ever controlling that thing was just like watching me, and it was like that creeped me out a little bit because I don't this is like a piece of machinery that might just become self-aware and like eat me or something like that. So it was just this slight little motion. Yeah, who's ever controlling the alligator, good job, good on you, man. You guys are terrifying. So that was pretty cool. Once again, the house a lot more boxed in, a lot more claustrophobic, a lot more intimate. Really cool. You end up going through like a hospital gone wrong.
It's definitely part asylum with a lot, and part like it's a hospital wing where you have the asylum section, and of course you have the normal surgery and delivery area.
The delivery area, which is one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen in a house ever. Which is weird because it's not actually the most horrifying thing I've ever seen in a house. That was another part of this house. So the two most horrifying things I've ever seen in the haunt ever were found in Paver Nocturnus at the Shallow Grave. It was just like crazy amazeballs.
Well, I think for that scene in particular, it's like a realistic thing that could happen, and that just kind of plays on you a little bit. And it's just the way that he does it, and then the odors that are in there, and his lines were amazing. So it all came together right there.
Yeah.
As someone who's gone through that experience before, I thought it was very well done because there's when it comes to something like that, and you actually have to go and see to really understand the scene. But it's one of those, having a son, if you kind of help get the, not really giving away, but it helps, light bulb. Seeing something like that, that's actually someone's worst fears of happening during that delivery section.
Gotcha.
Right.
Hit a little home without getting too weird. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, it was neat, and I found that the characters were a little bit more interactive in this one. Like you could actually talk a little bit back and forth. There was this one point of this little female. She was kind of standing on like a ramp and made you kind of walk under her. And
London Bridge.
Yeah, and she was saying
she was like a little girl that wanted to be your friend and play with you, and
well, it was until I went through the second time. She said something like I was about to walk under her because she's at her legs split like this, and you walk under her. And I thought the same thing too. I'm like, oh yeah, it's cute little whatever, trying to mess with you, whatever. And then she said something she's like, watch out for the spiders down there, or something like that. And I was like, man, must have been a while, huh? She's like, you have no idea. And I was like, breaking the third wall.
It's like scary movie.
Call me. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that was pretty neat. 5 minutes left, so we got to kind of wrap this up. So let's get to the last part here. Now, the last part of this is the most horrifying thing I've ever seen in any haunt ever. My number one moment for this year so far, after all the things I've done, which is going to be the last scene in this house, which freaked me the F out. Twice.
Oh my goodness. That last scene, it is definitely something I've never experienced in any sort of haunted house that I've ever been to my entire life. And exiting out of that, I really questioned, did we go through the correct exit or did we go through the chicken exit? Because I don't know at this point.
I know we all walked around as soon as we left the haunt, and we were talking to kind of the directors and some of the workers were like, did we go out the right side? And we just were confused, and we spun around in a circle for a minute. And I think that played onto that whole ending of that haunt perfectly, that it's making you go insane. And when you leave, you actually are, and you think you've gone insane by going out the wrong place.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As you walk through the haunts, there are chicken exits where you can quit at any time, no refunds. And when you get into the last room, you don't really see a clear path. and we ended up in like one of the hallway exits. We're like, oh my god, did we just quit? Because if we would have quit, I would have been like upset. But not to spoil it, I don't want to go. I'm going to give you 3 things: possessed person, strobe lights, person in straitjacket, hip checking you. Just do with that what you need. But that right there was my favorite moment in the entire thing, and that's brand new this year. So, Joe, you guys designing that, awesome. I absolutely adored that part, and it was really disturbing. And I when we went through a second time, I was like really gunning for that, and thankfully we got held up at the end a little bit because of the group in front of us was just freaking out, like losing their minds.
That was my favorite part of everything.
Group.
Yeah, that group in front of us.
They got shut in their room, and you could see them, and you could see that they were just panicking.
They could not move. They were frozen in fear, which was
But
awesome.
kudos though to the actors with the way they handled the situation, because being a performer and you're kind of stuck, because I know there were many times doing parades over at a certain, mouse theme park that I would have to do the same routine and like interact with people, and it takes a lot of effort to stay in character while you're having to see that person for who knows how long.
Right. Yeah. We were mingling. It's almost like we were mingling in like the second to last room. The characters were stuck there. We were stuck there. And then, it was just kind of like, it was funny because the guy, there's a door to the last room, and that group was stuck in there, and this character like looked at us, looked at the room, looked at us, looked at the room, and he just kind of like slowly shut the door. He's like, I'm just going to go ahead and lock these people in here. And he kind of like tilted his head and looked through the window into the last room. I thought that was really cool. And then
I enjoyed listening to their screams, though.
Yes, that was great. Yeah. I didn't see anybody like flat out run out this year like I normally do, because there are lots of quitters that go through the shallow grave who can't handle it, which is awesome. But I didn't see anybody straight up run this year, so it was pretty funny.
Right. No, and going through that last little area where there's we'll say somebody having a psychological breakdown. I knew who it was, and it still freaked me out. So, Haley, you did an amazing job there.
Hey, name dropping.
But, it was an amazing house. So.
Wait. Are you telling me the last person in the last room is a real person?
No.
Okay.
I'm not saying that.
Oh, that's good.
Couple of rooms prior to that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll talk off camera in a little bit, because I'm like, what? All right. So what else we got here? Let me just kind of wrap this up here, because we've actually like blown through the whole hour, which
oh wow.
I have no problem about this. I wish we could go on for like another half an hour talking about the shallow grave. So let me see what we got here. Here's a sign. Just a couple theming pics that I pulled from their website, from their Facebook. Here it kind of gives you a sense of the color scheme and the gore and everything that you're in for. Imagine the smell of this, and that's exactly what you're going to experience when you go to the shallow grave. Just a random victim in like a cellar. Once again, dark color scheme, really neat. Person with pickaxe in their head. Sucks to be them, I guess. I believe in this room there was an animatronic that somehow an animatronic grabbed me. I don't know how that happens, but it did. That's pretty neat. Another one here. We got the person. I sometimes get a little confused as to what house this is in, but it's equally as terrifying. A couple announcements here, because we got to kind of wrap this up because it's 9 o'clock and I don't want to take too much of your time. They are doing a Christmas event. So if you are around in the Christmas time, I'm sure they'll make more announcements on the Facebook for the Shallow Grave. Make sure you follow them on Twitter. Go to theshallowgrave.com. They're going to do special events, which is really cool. They're going to do something on Valentine's Day, so this is going to make a great date here. A couple events that Joe told us about. Joe Phillips is the owner of the Shallow Grave. They do really cool events. Like they have the opening weekend, a law enforcement event where if you could, provide credentials that you were in law enforcement, you got free admission, which is cool as hell. And unfortunately, he was telling me that not a lot of people took advantage of it. So, and I watch Facebook like all the time. I mean, they give away tickets like crazy. They want people to come and experience this haunt and tell their friends about it. So that was pretty sweet. My friend Kelly Harady won tickets today, so that's pretty cool. So I'm sure she's going to enjoy that. I'll have to ask her how that goes. they're doing a little cross promotion with the Chamber of Terror in Tampa. So if you take your ticket from the Shallow Grave to Chamber of Terror, or take the ticket from Chamber of Terror to the Shallow Grave, they're going to give you a couple bucks off your ticket, $2. So that's really cool. They're also, the last 3 weekend of the events, they're doing a canned food drive. He's all about the community, he's all about charity and all that stuff. Yeah, for every can that people donate the last 3 weekends of the event, the Shallow Grave will match that. So that's really cool. And all this great stuff. One of my favorite things that they're going to be doing here, though, to kind of get people out of the theme park mindset, is folks that work at the theme parks, like for haunts and everything, if they go the last weekend of the event, which is going to be that like the 4th and the 5th here, they will give you, if you provide your ID for the park, they're going to go ahead and give you $5 off your ticket. So you can do both haunts for $20. That's an amazing deal. So get out there and do that. There's no way I'm not doing this again. Like, this came on my list. Normally I do the Shallow Grave once or twice a year. It might be more than that this year, because I was really impressed with this. Not to go too crazy on a big rant or anything like that, but I really wish a lot of my friends, and if you're watching this, a lot of the fans of the show, you guys gotta break your mindset that there's only Horror Nights and only Howl-O-Scream. There are so many cool things to do beyond that, and they're way more cost effective. And I'm going to go ahead and say this, and you guys can quote me on this. The Shallow Grave is the only thing that I've done so far, including the theme park stuff, that is a must-do. Like, if I could only pick one, I would do the Shallow Grave, because it's that amazing. We've talked about it for the last hour, but I myself, I can't convey how much of a great time we had and how awesome this haunt is. So get your ass to the Shallow Grave. There.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the houses are great, and you're going to spend maybe an hour to do 2 houses when you're going to spend 90 minutes to wait in line at HHN, and the houses are of the same quality, if not better. And I actually do think that they are better.
It's a fair assessment. I'm going to go ahead and agree with that. Tom?
It's one of those, yes, it is definitely worth the time to go out there. It is worth the price of admission. It's like, I can't really say how much that, like, it's one of those things. It's really hard to put to words. Like, you really have to go and check it out for yourself. Like, I would recommend, even if you go to Halloween Horror Nights or Howl-O-Scream every night, or, many nights, definitely take the time to go check this out. The Shallow Grave, it was my first time going through, and I was blown away. Good. Like, you can ask Johnny the whole time. I was like, oh, that's cool. Wow, I like this,
And then you screamed.
And then you would scream.
What? It's more like, hey, oh, wow.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, you scared the crap out of me, but I love the design of this. It's like I didn't
really get scared in it, because I'm too busy. Like, I look at everything. It's more like, oh, that was really cool. Like, it was fun seeing other people scream. I'm just like, yeah.
I do enjoy that. I maybe they should install like those like night vision cameras on there, so they can get like a highlight reel of the best scares. I would watch that for like 3 hours straight, and then people running out. That would make a great commercial for next year. Just people leaving. Like, can you handle the Shallow Grave?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. It's 9:05 now. We did start a few minutes late, so apologize for keeping you guys here. Thank you, guys. I know some folks are watching from the Shallow Grave. We love you. Can't say enough good things about all the people there. Every staff person that we talked to was great. So please go out and check out the Shallow Grave. That being said, we're going to do another non-theme park haunt. So this Thursday, we're going out to the media preview for Scream-A-Geddon. So Scream-A-Geddon is a haunt. The show did this last year. We went out and checked this out in Dade City. We're going to go see if there are any changes to that here. So next week on the show, if you guys want to watch, we're going to be going into episode 6. We're actually starting to get into kind of the final run of the show here, depending on how many episodes we want to do. So we're going to go ahead and check out Scream-A-Geddon.
And let's just hope that Hurricane Matthew holds off until after the event.
Yeah, let's hold off, because there's a lot of stuff for that one that's like outdoorsy, so I fear that if it rains like crazy, that could be a problem. So we'll let you know. We're gonna go out and do it this Thursday, so we'll bring back a report for that. Thank you guys for watching. I see all you guys here. You guys are welcome. I know you guys came here because we covered your haunt, but we cover all kinds of things in Florida. So tell your friends, share, comment, like, get the word out there. Because as much as we love you, we want you guys to love us as well. Tom, thank you for being on the show here.
Absolutely.
Maybe if you want to go out and do some other haunts in the future, maybe we can get you back in here. I'll just save the layout this time because adding a third person to this was like such a problem for me for some reason. But I was glad to have you on the show, and I really appreciate your feedback in here.
Thanks a lot. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Any closing words?
Shallow Grave, thank you so much for making my first time amazing. Shout out to Ethan, who apparently is that werewolf.
Yeah.
Because don't worry, I've been telling my friends about that one section. So great job.
Yeah, get the word of mouth out there. The Shallow Grave does not get the love they deserve. I'm sorry. That's my main complaint about the Shallow Grave isn't about the haunt. It's that people don't know about it and they need to. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and roll out of here. You guys have a great night. Until next time, spook easy.
And happy haunting.
And Tom, we got to get you a catchphrase.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pop the credits here. Mute your microphones. And we will see you guys next week, Tuesday at 8 o'clock.